Hello, I'm going to read my outline for Chapter 1, Segment 1 of Sensation and Perception. So since Chapter 1 is just an introduction, it starts with definitions. So sensation is the ability to detect a stimuli, while perception gives meaning and or purpose to those detected sensations. And some of the methods of this are method 1 is thresholds. Method 2 is scaling or measuring private experience. Method 3 is signal detection theory or measuring difficult decisions. Method 4 is sensory neuroscience. Method 5, neuroimaging, or an image of the mind. So now we're going to talk about the dawn of psychophysics. So there was a man, Gustav Fechner, who was considered the founder of psychology as a science by some people, and he thought a lot about dualism versus materialism. And dualism is the idea that the mind has an existence separate from the material world of the body, where materialism is the idea that the mind and the body are not separate, they are together. So this is something that Fechner pondered on a lot, and he proposed an idea that the mind or the consciousness exists as a property of all matter, and he called this theory panpsychism. Now, Fechner wanted to formally describe the relationship between sensation or mind and the energy or the matter that gave rise to sensation, and he called this sort of branch of sensation and perception psychophysics. Psycho because for the psychology, and physics because he was also a physics man. Now, some of the thresholds involved in psychophysics are the 2-point threshold, which is the smallest distance between 2 points required to feel touch on 2 points, not one. There's the just noticeable difference, which is the difference required for detecting a change in weight. It's also called the difference threshold, and the idea is that the smaller the weight or any kind of stimuli, so it could be a noise or even like a sight, but the smaller the stimuli, the less change needed to notice. And then there's Weber fractions, which is a ratio rule that states a constant ratio between the change and what was being changed, and they're saying that that would describe the threshold of detectable change. And then there's Weber's law, which states that the size of the detectable difference is a constant proportion of the level of stimuli. And then off of Weber's law, Fechner created Fechner's law, which is basically just a mathematical extension of Weber's law. And then there's also the absolute threshold, which is the minimum intensity of a stimulus that can be detected. So whether it's weight or sound or light. So some of the psychophysical methods are the first one is the method of constant stimuli, which is basically creating many stimuli with different intensities in order for the tiniest intensity to be detected. So what happens here is that a subject is exposed to a random order of stimuli, some of them like of the intensity of the stimuli, some of them detectable, some of them not, and they're supposed to verbalize when they detect the stimuli, and then so the ones that they detect and the ones that they don't, then they'll be able to find the tiniest that can be detected. So the problem with this one is that stimuli right near the threshold will be detected sometimes and missed other times. The second method is the method of limits. It's where tones are presented in order of increasing or decreasing intensity. So what will happen here is, so they'll be exposed to the stimuli in order from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest, and they'll either be able to say when they start hearing this, like when they start detecting the stimuli, or when the stimuli is no longer detectable. And the last one is the method of adjustment, which is almost the same as the method of limits, it's the subject is steadily increases the intensity, but they do it by themselves. So it's more found in day-to-day activities.